What it do, what it do, what it do. This Miss Yaakov coming straight from that Spiker Star, aka the Messenger, aka the Virgo Goddess, aka the Daughters of Zion, aka that Topaz Gem Sapphire. Hey, listen, I always have a message for you, but it's up to you to discern what Miss Yaakov is trying to say. Remember, I'm just the outside looking into your world, so things that you just don't see, okay? But this here, top of the AM, top of the AM. The goddess is feeling good, lovely, and blessed, okay? I lift my window up like I do each and every morning. I look up to the celestial realms, Jerusalem, the real Jerusalem, okay? And I give thanks, praise, and glory and worship to the sovereign Lord of hosts, for he is merciful and worthy to be praised. He's driving me near y'all off the land. He's giving me the land, me the inheritance, aka reparations, okay? Okay, and wherever I'm at, that's where my land is, and that's where my reparations should be, okay? If you woke up this morning, you need to give thanks to the sovereign Lord of hosts, okay? Because each and every day that you wake up is a brand new day, a clean page for you to get some salvation for yourself so you can be redeemed from his judgment and everlasting condemnation, okay? And always remember, each and every day that you wake up, okay, is God's grace and mercy. It is never ever to be taken for granted, okay? Because it can and will run out, okay? But top of the AM, right? The name of this is called Having Multiple Wives is a Sin. Is having multiple wives is a sin? Let's get into this clip with Dowell from Straightway. Let's get into this.
Multiple wives. I've got $100,000 off. So you meant to tell me that it is not sin having another wife, multiple wives. I've got $100,000 offer up, and I've upped it from $50,000 to $100,000. If I can have anybody in this world to show me anywhere in the scriptures where polygyny or a man having multiple women, or what they define today as multiple wives, is a sin. If it was sin, why wasn't David reprimanded for all these women and stuff? He was reprimanded because he took another man's wife. He wasn't reprimanded because he had already had 7 or 8 then. Moses had 3 of them. And Abraham, multiple, the father of the faith, Jacob, the progenitor of Israel himself, had 4. Never once were they ever reprimanded for having more than one woman. It's crazy because when you look at the word, even Yah himself is a polygynist. He's got more than one. See, we can't go out there and start making laws above that which the Most High Yah has already given us parameters for. And most people, because they don't fit that doctrine, and they're trying to redefine the Most High Yah. Yah's pretty much done laid out in the book.
Let me just say this. We're going to keep this brief, okay? Number one, it's like, first of all, the way they just be calling him these names, it's like they addressed him like he's one of his homies, one of their homies from the block. What up, y'all? What up? This my homie, y'all, right there. Nah, that's not, this ain't that. This ain't that. This is something of divine. You don't address him as if you talking to one of your homies from the block. Like, what are you doing? Like, so that right there is just like really. And then above it all, it seems as though they're using Jacob and Rehoboam and Solomon and all them to justify their sexual perversions, okay? Because when you really break this thing down, what does it profit everybody, including the females? What does it profit the females of being their second wife? What does it profit? What does it profit him? Like, what do he gain from all that? What do anybody gain from all that? Okay, that's number one. Number two, it may not be a sin to have multiple wives, okay? But their wives were in their purity. Their wives weren't betrothed. Okay, they weren't betrothed and they weren't defiled by other men. Okay, when you start having babies, becoming one flesh, you become one flesh to have a baby. When you become one flesh to breed a bloodline, that is considered a marriage covenant. That's a covenant. Okay, you can't be in covenant. A woman has to be in her purity. She cannot practice sexual perversion with herself. Okay, that's above it all. And then not only that, okay, but with Dowell and them, okay, and his polygyny, the women that he had, okay, they were pass-arounds. They were pass-arounds. These women belong and were already in covenant, marriage covenant with their children's fathers. Okay, they were already defiled. They were defiled women by their children's fathers. So that is not polygamy, okay? That is sexual perversion, okay? That's what that is. They're using Jacob, Rehoboam, and Solomon, okay, to justify their sexual perversion, and it doesn't mix, okay? Because Jacob, Rehoboam, and their wives, okay, their wives were goddesses, okay? Their wives weren't baby mothers and weren't whores that came off the block, okay? They women within their purity, okay? That's what it is with that. Dowell and his women are pass-arounds, okay? The women has to pay Dowell, okay? The women has to pay him. Not Dowell take care of the women as his wives. No, his wives have to take care of him, okay? That's a form of pimping and hoeing. Okay, that's what that is. That's pimping and hoeing. Okay, he's pimping these women out. Okay, and the women are paying him. Okay, that's a form of sexual perversion. Okay, not polygamy. Okay, they're trying to twist this thing all the way around. I'm going to give you an example, okay, of Homeboy before I get on out of here. Okay, Homeboy, if he wanted to take me as his second wife, okay, it has to be done in a biblical and divine way. I'm within my purity, which means I am not in marriage covenant with another man, or neither do I have another man's bloodline, okay? I never became one flesh with nobody to have their bloodline, okay? So therefore, I'm in within order. Okay, I'm within order. His wife, okay, she's within order because she does not have another man's bloodline. He is her first, and that will be my first, okay? We don't belong to another man, okay? We are within purity, okay? Within purity, okay? That's what that is with that. You have to be within purity. You cannot be within covenant with another man, okay, or have another man's bloodline, okay, in order for it to be polygamy, okay, and that has to be in a divine manner, okay? It cannot be out of man's own personal gain. Dowels, polygamy, okay, and whatever they got going on is within their own personal gain. It's not within biblical within biblical precepts, okay? Everything is done when they do it is within their own personal gain, because again, okay, it's sexual perversion and they pimping these women out. These women are baby mothers, okay, and whores. They already belong to other men and they being pimped out by Dowell himself. They go see Dowell and pay Dowell their money, okay? And then Dowell turn around and Dowell pimp them out to other men, okay? And they too got to turn around and pay other men, okay? That's what that is with that. That is not a form of polygamy. And they blasted Dowell. Dowell was on blast several times with his perversions that he got going on, and he tried to use Jacob and Solomon to try to justify his sexual perversion, and it don't mix, okay? Because these women again are defiled, okay? They belong to their baby fathers, okay? They became one flesh with another man that they were already in covenant with, and having babies is considered a marriage, okay? That's what that is with that. We're talking about divine law. We're not talking about man's personal thing that he got going on, okay? According to divine law, God's law, when you start having babies and breeding a bloodline, that is considered a marriage. You are one flesh, okay? That's it. That's all. All this extra stuff is man-made and it's evil, and that's something that man does to justify his own wickedness and his own filth, okay? But it is not a sin to have multiple wives. However, okay, it has to be done in a clean and righteous and biblical and divine and sacred way, okay? It cannot be done in a defiled manner to benefit man's own personal gain. That's not the way that works, okay? And the man is the man of the house. He has to provide for his wives, not his wives provide for him. That is a form of pimping and hoeing, okay? That's all that is with that. Anywho, I'm about to get on out of here, man. It's that spiker star, the brightest star of the constellation, looking into your world, see things that you just don't see. Hey, listen, man, repent for your filth and try to save your soul. It's priceless. I'm out here.